Welcome to week 31. GreenVolt survived the crisis. The most important work was only just beginning. For several incredibly grueling days, GreenVolt literally fought tooth and nail to recover its business from an absolutely devastating ransomware attack. The tension in that room was unimaginable. The stakes were entirely existential, and this exhaustive reality of recovery, it pushed every single employee to their absolute limit.
But then, suddenly, a breakthrough. The teams have been working completely around the clock. The backups are restored. Critical applications are gradually coming back online, and production lines are finally running again. The crisis is over, right? For so many organizations out there, this is exactly where the story ends. The crisis management team is immediately dissolved, a quick lessons learned report gets written up, filed away in some desk drawer, never to be seen again, and everyone just breathes a massive sigh of relief and goes right back to business as usual.
Okay, let's dive into this. Because at GreenVolt, someone absolutely refuses to let that happen. It's Thursday morning, 8:30 a.m. The executive committee meets once again, but wow, the atmosphere in this room is completely different now. The tension has really eased. Production dashboards are finally showing green, and customers are being served again. The recovery objectives have largely been achieved. By all conventional logic, Thomas, GreenVolt's CEO, could just thank his exhausted teams, officially close out the crisis, and let everybody go home.
Instead, Thomas looks around the room and asks one completely unexpected question. He says, "What are we going to change because of this crisis?" Just imagine the room falling totally, stunningly silent. It wasn't because nobody had an answer. It was simply because literally nobody expected the question. The crisis was over, wasn't it?
And this brilliantly illustrates what the executive team was about to realize. See, over the past few days, GreenVolt discovered things it had never fully understood about itself before. They found all these hidden technical and human dependencies. They slammed right into critical approval bottlenecks. They realized, kind of shockingly, that vital business knowledge was dangerously concentrated in just one individual. And they found out that certain suppliers had quietly become absolutely indispensable. Now, here's the crucial point. The ransomware attack didn't create these weaknesses. They had always existed. The crisis just acted like a massive magnifying glass, revealing what everyday operations so successfully hide.
For most organizations, the ultimate goal is simply returning to normal, basically rebuilding yesterday's organization. And let's be fair, that's a perfectly understandable objective when you've just survived a disaster. But Thomas realizes something profound. If the next crisis produces exactly the same weaknesses, have they really improved? He isn't interested in rebuilding yesterday's organization. He wants to build tomorrow's organization through continuous learning. He envisions a future where critical competencies are shared, where approval authority is never a bottleneck, and where executive decisions actually become easier because the organization finally understands how it truly operates.
This forward-thinking philosophy brings us to the core framework of today's explainer. We call it the Ransom-Kick Resilience Model. This is a philosophy where a crisis never marks the end of an operational resilience program. Instead, it becomes one of its absolute most valuable sources of knowledge. Think about it. Every difficult decision, every unexpected bottleneck, every successful adaptation, they all become part of the organization's operational memory. The next crisis should never begin with the same level of understanding as the previous one. It should begin from a much, much stronger position. That continuous learning process is exactly what gradually transforms an organization from merely being resilient to becoming truly antifragile.
But here's the catch, right? Learning only creates value when it's structured. How many times have we seen incredibly valuable lessons just die in forgotten, dusty postmortem reports? Way too many. And that's exactly where platforms like Archionus.app enter the picture. To actually build that operational memory, you absolutely need a structured system. You need a tool that ensures these hard-won lessons are captured, locked in, and readily available long before the next disruption ever hits.
So how does this build in practice? Well, platforms like Archionus.app break this down into highly practical, actionable steps. Step 1. You map out your business objects and those hidden operational dependencies that the crisis just revealed to you. Step 2. You identify the critical roles and validation authorities, ensuring you never suffer from a single-person bottleneck ever again. And Step 3. You enrich your business continuity scenarios and disaster recovery strategies using the actual real-world data you just gathered. Every improvement becomes an active part of your governance framework. So you aren't just recovering, you're becoming progressively better prepared.
Which brings us right back to that executive committee meeting. I want you to really picture this highly cinematic scene. The meeting is finally wrapping up. Thomas walks over to the whiteboard that has guided every single executive decision throughout this entire grueling crisis.
He takes an eraser and he slowly erases the very first action item written days earlier. And in its place, he writes a single, powerful sentence. The next crisis starts today. That sentence flawlessly captures the true meaning of anti-fragility. It's not about enjoying a crisis. It's certainly not about seeking one out. It's about utterly refusing to waste everything that a crisis just taught you.
I have to ask, did you see your own organization in GreenVolt's story today? Because if you did, this is your direct call to action. I highly encourage you to discover the Ransom-Kick Resilience Model and try Archeonius.app for free. This is your toolkit to connect business impact analysis, business continuity, disaster recovery, and crisis governance into a single, value-oriented approach. Start mapping your dependencies and structuring your organizational knowledge right now, before your next crisis actually occurs.
But of course, that leaves us with one massive, lingering question to end on today. How can an organization objectively demonstrate that it has become more resilient and is progressively moving toward anti-fragility? It's one thing to feel better prepared, but how do you actually prove it to your board, your stakeholders, or your customers? Well, we're going to answer exactly that. Join us in the final Week 31 explainer as we tackle this last piece of the puzzle. It's a fascinating answer, and you for sure won't want to miss it.